Hello, I'm the Angry Spork. The subject of this review requires some context for those either too young to remember, or at least didn't get a bunch of pop culture references in certain other shows. The $6 Million Man, based on the novel Cyborg, was about astronaut Colonel Steve Austin, who suffered a horrible accident, only to be saved by and upgraded with bionic replacements for his left eye, right arm, and both legs. Now with enhanced speed, vision, and strength, he became a secret agent for the Office of Scientific Intelligence. If facts don't convince you of climate change, then a right hook with the force of a bulldozer will. Starring Lee Majors, running for 5 seasons and launching a Bionic Woman spin-off, the show became very popular, with merchandising to go with it. Since its heyday, aside from some stalled movie plans and a short-lived Bionic Woman reboot, the franchise found new comics-based life in 2014 through Dynamite Publishing, and in 2018, someone must have thought, why not pit him against the real American heroes? That's why I'm taking issue with G.I. Joe versus the $6 Million Man. Does the versus mean they're going to fight, or is this going to be the weirdest episode of Family Feud ever? Let's start with issue number 1 and see if these comics make us want to turn the page or turn our heads. The cover is pretty cool in a movie poster kind of way. Scarlett, Roadblock, Duke, and Snake Eyes, armed and looking ready for action. Behind them, encompassed in the Cobra emblem, Austin is half-shaded in a kind of circuitry silhouette with his eye glowing red. It has zoom capabilities, night vision, infrared, and a laser pointer for whenever he wants to mess with cats. Written by Ryan Ferrier, with art by S.L. Gallant, Brian Shearer, and James Brown, we get some setup for the story, how a new peace accord is to be signed with the potential to leave organizations like Cobra at greater disadvantage. Meanwhile, Steve has dropped into Siberia after receiving new biomechanical upgrades. Maybe we'll see how my new titanium alloy handles bullets. Just remember, our budget cuts prevented us from covering as much as we usually might, so, watch out if anyone fires at you below the belt. Tech mogul Jackson Tiller is being held hostage by some thugs in a nearby camp. Even though he's so wealthy, he should be untouchable.
The poor man's version of me. Which, to be fair, still makes him insanely rich.
Steve is told by OSI director Oscar Goldman to proceed with extreme caution, so naturally the cyborg crashes through the skylight, as you do. The gunmen are taken out swiftly enough, and Steve karate chops Tiller's ropes apart, preparing to take him to the States. American? USAF OSI, born and raised, Mr. Tiller. His parents were a branch of the military and a spy agency? I smell a sitcom! Wait, it's a Disney sitcom, never mind. Hidden by some clever framing in previous panels, Tiller reveals a high-tech handle that slaps a fancy collar around the agent's neck, tasering him into unconsciousness. Zartan, Dr. Mindbender, and the Baroness reveal themselves, the latter commending Tiller and promising that when Cobra conquers the world, his company will remain operational, then tells the resident mad scientist to see to their captive. I imagine you'll find this very thought-provoking, Mr. Austin. Win is a door, not a door! Hundreds of feet and multiple levels of solid steel beneath the Utah desert, General Hawk is escorting the U.S. President, Mexican President, and Canadian Prime Minister to the pit, base of operations for G.I. Joe. Joining the leaders to the upcoming peace accord signing will be 11 of their elite team, which Hawk will lead. Say hello to the Joes!
Hello, Joe!
Hey, if this guy's called Ghost Rider, why isn't his head on fire? I call shenanigans. Anyway, the politicians board Air Force One while Hawk stresses to the team how important this mission is. 36 world leaders will be meeting on neutral ground for a new global peace agreement, giving the Joes and similar groups immense support against terrorists, including but not limited to Cobra. Soon they're off to the Frisian Islands for the signing, while we go to Switzerland's Infinity Center, 96 floors housing residencies, over 100 stores and amenities, 2/3 of the wealthiest banks, and 70% of the most successful businesses. And in case you thought this was a pointless detour, it gets quickly attacked and taken over by Cobra, as the commander takes a top-floor penthouse as his new throne room. and yet he'll still get charged for all the Toblerones he takes out of the mini-fridge. On Air Force One, Scarlett is on edge, both because of the loud music from rock and roll, yes, that's his code name, and a feeling that something is about to happen. And wouldn't you know it, something hits the wing. Steve Austin wearing a jetpack, now sporting 2 red nodules on each side of his head. Oh no, Cobra's upgraded him with turn signals! As Ace's plane gets wrecked, Hawk recognizes Steve and his potential to kill them all, ordering Mainframe to patch him through to OSI, while the other plane, piloted by Ghost Rider, is told to keep the rogue agent off their tail. And I'm sure the artist didn't intend for this expression to look so hilarious. He looks like someone doing a bad job at acting shocked when the surprise party he heard about last week finally springs on him. He looks like the first take of someone trying to look scared their first day filming a low-budget horror film. It looks like he decided to make this dull face before being frozen in carbonite. After taking out not Johnny Blaze's plane, Steve uses his mighty right arm to cut off the back half of Air Force One, with Roadblock holding onto Scarlett and keeping her from being pulled out. This is why you pay attention to those lights above your seats, people. Meanwhile, Cobra Commander is having himself broadcast to the world.
Citizens of the Infinity Center, Earth, this is your commander speaking.
And this is my salute.
Having seized the corporate and financial epicenter of everyone's lives, he boasts, with typical theatrical bravado, that there's no way to stop him, and the upcoming peace accords will fail. If everyone cooperates, they may keep the lives they live, but for now, they should savor their remaining moments of freedom.
Your staggered breaths are down payment for mercy. The fear in your eyes will count towards a 7% rebate on compassion.
What's left of the U.S. President's plane crash lands on the Frisian Islands, in a more populated spot than I am sure they would have liked, though fortunately, somehow, everyone inside seems to make it out no worse for wear regardless. How close are we to the capital? Not close enough, I'll tell you that for free. For $5, I can tell you how far we are from the nearest Thai restaurant. They can't just run for it because Steve Austin is leading Cobra troops, carrying their flag, as they advance on the downed craft. Issue 2's cover is, dare I say, awesome. A slick image of Colonel Austin reflected in Snake Eye's sword as the ninja prepares to take him on. Real nice job here, though that blade is looking a lot more like a broadsword than the guy's usual katana. Maybe he's just on a Braveheart kick. He can't say the iconic lines from the movie since he's mute, but maybe he'll put some blue face paint on his visor. In Washington, D.C., Steve's boss and friend Oscar has been shown photos from 12 hours back, showing the Bionic Man allying with Cobra. Mr. Goldman insists that he's been hacked. Steve would never betray his country of his own volition.
Here's your problem. Someone set this thing to evil.
His pleas fail to convince the Department of Defense, who intend to follow through on taking the cyborg out. Yeah, why would you believe he's being controlled? It's not like Cobra has an operative called Mindbender with any specific reasoning behind that name, right? Mainframe, who's waiting for the other Joes to re-establish connection, has another idea. Protocol Power Play, a top-secret government project that was shelved years ago. They were working on their own Power Glove until Nintendo put their own version out first. General that's done most of the talking reluctantly agrees, but only offering 24 hours to stop this nuclear threat. After that, they'll have no choice but to neutralize the Frisian Islands, and holding OSI accountable.
It's government approved, so you know it's good for you.
Back with the downed plane, Steve figures the fight's over, since the Joes should be easy kills at this point. But Baroness counters his enthusiasm, saying they must savor the kill, hunt their prey while they suffer through war. I know that sounds like a silly excuse for the bloodthirsty enemies to not take advantage of the situation, that it's stupid of them to prolong terminating the heroes when they have the opportunity, like logic would suggest. So anyway, the Joes gather together inside the wreckage, figuring their only choice is to fight on the move, with Zap's bazooka as an opening salvo. But Hawk hits pause on that, since he just chatted with Mainframe, saying they've got more international problems. The House of Pancakes needs us. Recondo seems to already know he wants to split the team, somehow, with half of them going to the Alps. In case you didn't notice, this dang bird ain't exactly fueled up and ready to soar. You know I hate the dang cold, Hawk. You hate the cold, rock and roll hates flying. Are we going to get every Joe's pet peeves on this mission? Hawk clarifies the situation about the Infinity Center, with the world's wallets essentially being seized by Cobra. And that seems to get everyone on board with his decision, with a big kaboom and some cover fire, seeing half the team protect the world leaders, while the other half sets off to commandeer an enemy jet. By sheer coincidence, Baroness decides now they should try killing the Joes. Sit back and watch the kind of mayhem $6 million can buy. Well, in 1973 money, the 2018 equivalent to build another bionic spy like you would be in the neighborhood of $41 million. Adjusted for inflation, you're more like the under $1/6 million man. Team Steal-A-Plane succeeds in a few panel, thanks to a kick from Snake Eyes that earns him a triple score bonus. He, Scarlett, and Stalker are off to Switzerland with Wakando, I assume because Hawk wanted to punish him for bellyaching about the cold. With all due respect, Hawk, shouldn't we be getting these suits somewhere less volatile than an oil tanker?
The Ritz-Carlton's booked up, rock and roll. But if you'd rather go to a Motel 6...
The oil tanker's fine. Lady Jaye is the top said tanker, firing at an incoming bionic man.
These bullets are just bouncing off him like a playground insult.
You mean he's going to tell a teacher, but nothing will be done, and the lingering emotional abuse will manifest as a spontaneous burst of anger years later while he's working at a furniture store? Not that I would know anything about that. A nearby bank has bulletproof glass and fortified walls they could use, but they'd need some breathing room. Hawk sees no choice but to pull a maneuver he'd rather have waited on. He steps out, requesting a ceasefire, calling Austin a traitorous pig, and prepared to knock out whatever mind control he's under. Since Baroness doesn't want to miss two guys punching each other silly, she orders guns down, giving the Joes ample time to get the leaders to the bank. Not sure Jay needed the obvious diversion explained to her just so it would be explained to the reader. Feels like one of the people they're escorting could have mentioned how one-sided that fight will be, but... Wait, is that Hawk back with the team? Artist error, teleportation, or shadow clone jutsu? You decide. Hawk gets in a solid punch, only to get one in return, followed by what pro wrestling apparently refers to as a Death Valley driver. Don't worry, I'm sure all that soft concrete will break his fall.
And my hip, and 4 of my ribs.
Meanwhile, Scarlett and the others have arrived in Switzerland, which from the Frisian archipelago could take an hour and a half by air, but this is a sci-fi jet, so let's assume it's just under an hour. She mows down the battle android trooper standing guard outside the building, then fires a missile because she likes to make an entrance. This is also what got her kicked off the G.I. Joe party planning committee. Cobra Commander anticipated this, though they arrived later than he thought and are so wasteful with their weaponry, but hey, he appreciates a good spectacle. And he'll enjoy seeing the Joes torn down from the comfort of his new home, dubbing it the Ouroboros Center. You know, after the symbology of a snake that's eating its own tail.
Son, you are dumber than a bowl of mice.
He makes a boisterous announcement about the fine luxuries available, but that the heroes won't live long enough to enjoy them, as his henchmen storm the premises, weapons at the ready. The soldiers are free to meet with Cloakface at the top, if they can make it through floors and floors of his men inside a building under the villain's complete control. Still not the worst Airbnb any of the Joes have used. The team runs for cover, with Wakando getting clipped in the arm, but otherwise they're all fine. Arduous as it may be, their only option is to run and gun their way up the stairs. Snake, however, will take the elevator, ninja style. Roadblock and the others have made it to the bank, evading enemy fire, while most of them are still watching Austin knock General Hawk around. The heroes want to do something before their CO dies on his feet, but injuries aside, Abernathy can still trash talk just fine. Tell me, how deep does this run in OSI? Are you the only spineless coward to come out of that laboratory? No, there was another one, made of discarded erector set pieces and faulty Lego. But before he got his spine installed, he just took off, changed his name to Tucker Carl's Wait a Minute! Growing bored, Baroness tells Steve to just hurt his opponent already, though it kinda seems like that's what he's been doing. So the new lackey agrees, leaping up and punching the ground, which apparently lifts Hawk into the air about 4 or 5 feet. And somehow on the next page, in some baffling progression, Hawk's gotten behind Austin and stuck some pointy metal debris right through his non-mechanical chest. I mean, I guess he was supposed to be jumping as Steve punched the ground, but even if you leave some stuff to the imagination, it still reads like something's missing between the pages and the panels. As good as that hit was, it didn't exactly end the fight, with Hawk backhanded away, then grabbed by the throat, with 8 seconds to live before the Joes are next. We go to a tropical island where Mainframe has taken Oscar to meet Protocol Power Play, the man who, despite retirement, figured he'd be brought back for another mission eventually, Mike Power, another cyborg known as the Atomic Man. A new character halfway through the story? What a twist! But who is this new player? Does he have the power to stop Steve Austin in his tracks? Who will take up more shelf space in the toy aisle? Tune in next week for the conclusion. I'm the Angry Spork, and man, have I got issues.